So we've prepared a few questions to have this discussion with you because there's a lot. It's been quite intense, right? I mean, there are many things
Yes,
for us to
so
discuss.
much.
Yeah, there are many things for us to be discussing. And we will be talking about authentic materials and social issues because I think that this is the moment for us to discuss social issues in the classroom, environmental issues, which are social issues as well. And there's no better time to approach this than this event. So, the first question that I have here, Tommy, for us to discuss um, is the following. Uh, what are authentic materials and why are they important in teaching?
Well, that's tough to answer at first because some people they believe that authentic materials are just things which are difficult for learners to understand, or that they, of course, they have to do with the real life context, right? But then some teachers they say, "Oh, this is too difficult for my learners to work on." I'm not here just to give you the definition of authentic materials, but at first, authentic materials are those ones who are not crafted for students. Am I right, Edu? When it comes to checking a video, that video was produced for other purposes, for instance, entertainment, and then we can use these materials to include in our lessons. So they are not meant to be used just with the students. Any other take on that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There is a definition that I always use in training sessions, which is any material that was not designed to be pedagogically used. So
Hmm.
and we as English teachers, as teachers, and not only English teachers, right? We as teachers, we have this superpower to adapt things from the real world to our classrooms. And um, thinking about social issues and authentic materials, um, how do you select these materials to bring to your lessons? Because when we think about what issues to raise in class, sometimes teachers might feel a little bit insecure because using authentic material can be more challenging than using graded material. That's a fact. But also the social aspect of raising issues inside the classroom, right? I mean, that's complicated.
Yes. One thing that I like doing, I'm going to mention my A1 learners because, well, um, sometimes I'm the first one who brings them into this authentic material world. Some learners, they are used to seeing mainstream media. What do I mean? More North American productions, and they do believe that this is the part of the world who speaks good English. I mean, of higher quality. So, and these students, they have never been introduced to speakers of English from other countries, such as Nigeria or Pakistan. So, what do? I try to bring different speakers, maybe people introducing themselves, some snippets from TV series. So these students, they can also have this access to this diverse speakers speaking English. So I guess that the first stereotype that I want to break is only people from North America or from Europe speak English of a higher quality. So the learners, they get a bit of this shock because they are introduced to somebody from Pakistan or Nigeria or either other countries, let's say um, in the African continent, and they were not expecting. So I guess that I try to break their expectations when it comes to, higher quality English. And then I also try to break this stereotype with them. So I guess that the first shock that my students they have is these people are able to speak high quality English. And I'm a person from Brazil. I can also sound really proficient. I don't need to just, be consuming content from people from North America, for instance, which is not a problem. But we have to open our students, let's say, repertoire. to be able to deal with different accents or cultural exchanges. So this is the first starting point.
Yeah, there is. It's funny you mentioned that because I have a fun story about this. I have a friend from Australia, Claire Venables.
Mm.
Some of you might know Claire if you work with young learners. You definitely you've definitely heard of her. And we mostly have our conversations in English, right? And then one day, for some reason, I was at her place and I started speaking Portuguese on a random topic, and she was like, "Wow, you sound so much gayer in Portuguese." And
Dishes.
you know, I, at that moment, I just laughed. I was like, "Oh, that's really funny." I was like, "Really, do I?" But then, that got me thinking. Why do I sound gayer in my first language than in English? Isn't that related to the amount of exposure of LGBT speakers that I haven't had throughout my learning path? Because when did we have contact in the 90s or in the 2000, early 2000s, was when I was a student of English? Uh, we didn't have any contact with LGBT uh, speakers and users of the language. So when we think about diversity, and going back to what Taylor said yesterday at her talk, that really got me thinking. It was a joke at that moment with Claire, but then I was like, hmm, that's true, And nowadays we have plenty of LGBTQIA plus sources of material, like RuPaul's Drag Race, we have Queer Eye, we have plenty of TV shows like Heartstopper. I know Gabi loves Heartstopper. She produced a very nice
Mhm.
lesson on that topic a while ago. And that is uh, being diverse. And then the more diverse you are, as you said to me, I think you expand this repertoire, not only linguistically speaking, but in terms of the world, the
Mhm.
world is not, especially when you work with a certain audience, upper class white people. Sometimes you have to go and just pop this bubble that people live in and say, hey, there's a whole new world out there. So
Yes, yes. And then one thing that I like using with my students is that whenever we talk about families or royal family, I ask them, do you know that we do have other royal families around the world? Can you name other countries in which we do have royal families? And then I usually refer them to articles in which they can see pictures of royal families around the world, and then they see how they are organized. Then we can try to find some similarities, differences. And then I try to open this door so students they can be more curious as well. Edu, I'd like to comment on something from the chat. Renata, she mentioned that Antonieta Migali, a great professional, once said that she prefers to use the term material with real social circulation rather than authentic material. Isn't it interesting? I
that
really
I
like
opened the chat to see what people were saying about this, because that's really cool. I never heard that
it
before.
is. Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much. I'm a huge fan of Antonieta, and I guess yes, a social circulation. Students they can have access to it, and as a learner, I guess when I learned English, and well, I started learning when I was 11. It was back in 2020, no, 2002,
Mhm.
2003. It's been a while, let's say. I only had access to MTV, and this was the social circulation back then. It was what plunged my interest in learning English, and I could only see people from North America. Unfortunately, I was not aware of that back then, but I tried to mine, and I felt that I would only have some value as an English speaker if my accent was closer to theirs. And speaking from this, background that I have as a Black female, I didn't see many black females speaking English considered of high quality, let's say, because most of them were either rappers or pop singers. So I felt like I don't think I really belong to the language, but fortunately, I had a very good teacher, and then she showed me another aspect of English, some writers who were black females, and then I started developing this awareness of my place as a speaker. And this is what I try to do with my learners, not only introducing them to the social diverse and racial diverse language speaking world, but also that they can, by themselves, try to find people they relate to. So, for instance, one of my students, she told me that she started watching more YouTube videos from Black female producers because of me, because I told her that when I'm on YouTube, I try to find content which is, connected to the things that I like, but also to keep, my English sharp. I go and then I type Black creators, and for her it was something so she could see other people like her speaking good English, and now she watches many videos from routine, skincare by Black female producers. So it is great. So then she's getting in touch with this material, widespread. Let's say, Renata, I'm going to quote what you mentioned from Antonietta again, which is material with real social circulation. So that's what she's getting in touch with. And then she's gained so many insights. So she's learning quite a lot.
And it's all about feeling represented, right? And uh, seeing yourself in a successful position, especially when we talk about minorities. I've had this talk with Fernanda Caetano many times. We've had this conversation, and it's all about uh, seeing that you can be at certain places doing certain things, even though you don't see representations of who you are in these spaces. So it's all about, taking ownership of who you are, where you come from, and taking the space you need wherever it is, right?
Yes, yes.
That's powerful.
Yes, though. And then you mentioned something. It empowers learners. So it is not just a matter of learning the language, but also the way we shape their perspective when it comes to their own, let's say, self-esteem. Because as a girl growing up in Brazil, my family is really simple. I'm the first one who has ever spoken English or has ever been abroad. So I didn't have many, let's say, examples of people achieving, things abroad. And it makes me really proud of my journey. And this is why I try to pass on to my students.
Yeah, I think people cannot see us on YouTube, so it takes a while. We're, we're back. I think we're back. I think we're back, Tammy. Okay, hold on. And we're not back live yet. The audio is working. That's okay. So my husband is saying that the audio is working. Hold on. Let's do that again. Let's do the magic. Oh, okay.
They can hear us.
Okay, good. Okay, now you can see us, hopefully. Okay. So, Tammy, I'm sorry. I had a connection problem here. You can hear me, right?
It's
Okay,
okay,
people
girl.
can see
I
us
can
and hear
hear
us
you.
now.
Perfect.
Good, 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 good. So, I'm sorry, Tammy, to interrupt you.
It's not a problem. It's not a problem. Yes. Well, just to get back to what I was saying, my students they can feel that my journey is relatable, and because I post things about English and then how I learned it, or the way that I face my learning journey. Because well, we are lifelong learners. We never stop studying or learning more things, especially connected to language, because language is something which is alive. So I try to tell my learners that they should be curious. They should try to find content that is going to add something to their lives. So this is what I usually do. So I guess that as teachers we have this role, which is really privileged because we are not only teaching the language
Yes.
but we are passing on knowledge. So really
Yeah.
valuable.
And we are, and there, if there is one thing that I believe in and that motivates me to work with education is that education can change the world. We have the power to change the way, but not. I think I mean literally change the world, but we can change the way people see the world, and we can bring new perspectives and empower people uh, to reach their goals, whether they are linguistic, language related or not. So we have this power, but as RuPaul says, with great power
Yes, we do.
comes great responsibilities. And just to wrap up this conversation, Gabi said that she thinks I sound as gay in English as I do in Portuguese. But I have to confess that I made a point of working on my English to sound gayer, if we can actually say that. Because I was like, well, that's not fair to who I am. Why do I have to, keep? Why is that? After I had this reflection on the language learning process, so bring LGBT references to your classes, bring diverse accents to your lessons, bring social problems, like Gabi said at the first session today, make people think and discuss and share their opinions, expose people to different opinions, because it's definitely going to be a win-win situation. Tell me, have you got any final
Yes, Matt.
considerations?
Well, I don't know if my the audio is well. We're trying to check it here. There were some comments. Maybe my mic was echoing. Let's see if that's better.
Okay.
Yes. So please let us know if it's better. Edu, as some final remarks, we do have to feel comfortable about addressing certain issues. So we're not here to say that teachers would be, you know, um, bad teachers if they don't do it. But I guess the first step is try to get as much as information as possible from that topic you want to talk to your students so that you feel more comfortable. Maybe the discomfort comes from this anxiety that you have from students not enjoying the lesson or feeling uncomfortable. Um, as long as you do it in a friendly way and you try not to judge your students, because some students can feel highly judged if they don't agree with your opinion. So we're not here to judge students. If they do have a different point of view, we should respect to listen, and also we shouldn't make them change their opinion. So every opinion in the classroom is valid. So you have to make and craft your environment as something which is really safe for students to be in. And students learn better when they feel safe, and they learn better from people that they like. So if you don't feel comfortable with certain topics, you should do some research, try to find ways, plan your lesson carefully, check if your lesson will not just have some triggers, because especially when it comes to mental health, students might talk to you about a topic in class, but it can also generate some triggers, and we don't know to what extent students will have these supporting network to take care of their emotional side. So whenever there's something a bit more sensitive in my lessons, I try to be careful, so then I'm not the reason for the triggers. So this is why we have to plan carefully. Not only lessons that we talk about diversity, but in every single lesson, right? So but then again, when we do plan lessons in which we're going to talk about social diversity or some, you know, touchy topics, we should be even more careful about addressing it.
Yeah. Just like what Gabi said here, the classroom needs to be a safe space, and I think we can definitely wrap up with that sentence because that's I think that's the first the first rule we need to follow. It needs to be a safe space for everyone. Yeah. Wow, that was great to have this moment of conversation and discussion. Thank you very much for everyone who was here with us up to this point. Now we're going to leave you for a couple of minutes so you can grab a coffee, run to the toilet, because we're bringing Jeremy Harmer as our next speaker. And I mean, if you got your coffee, if you went to the toilet, don't forget to check the pics down below. I'm going to check how much we've raised before we talk to Harmer, and I would really love to have a surprise. I'm making a point of not checking since Paulo mentioned that in the morning, so I would really like to have a surprise, and I do count on your help for that. I'll see you guys in a bit.